Welcome to the BleedRedblacks Podcast with your hosts Mike, Colin, Shannon, and Santino. Produced by Mark and Johnny Z. BleedRedblacks starts now.
Hey, welcome to BleedRedblacks Season 3, Episode 18. We're back in the South Keys after a break last week. A little bye week, so we deserve a bye week sometimes too, right? So, got a special guest in the house tonight, Mark Goudie, Chief Operating Officer of OSEG. Welcome to South Keys, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
And I was going to say, it must be scary in these parts, but apparently you're from this neck of the woods.
Born and raised not too far, yep. A couple streets over, spent most of my teenage years.
Awesome, so
you're as scary as this guy?
I don't know that that's accurate. But
yeah,
I'll take my shirt off a little later if you want.
Oh, man. We got to get this thing on YouTube ASAP. Also, you hear Janine is with me. Hey, buddy. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Colin?
I'm doing quite well. Awesome to have everyone down here. Season ticket holder Mike, unfortunately, couldn't make it, which is too bad. I know he was really looking forward to talking to Mark as well.
He's adulting tonight.
He's busy paying the bills. So, and Mr. Marcophone is in his little den there doing his thing. Anyways, I want to start off by saying the last home game that we had, a lot of people were kind of feeling indifferent about it, weren't sure if they were going to go. And for those of you who went, I hope you had an awesome time. I had a blast. $2 pretzels, and I got a chartered accountant right here, and I'm sure you can, I don't know what your margin is in those pretzels, but you're giving away honey mustard dipping sauces on the side. So I don't know if you worked that into your calcs, but
I didn't get one, so they were good? Worth it?
They were.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. You tell me if they were worth it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You taking a loss on those things, or
All for the fans.
there you
right?
go. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it was delicious, and I was going on about would have been a great time for a pretzel eating challenge, but I'm not an experienced pretzel eater. And apparently they are filling as hell. And by the time I was done this, I only ate 2. Yeah. But it was before kickoff, so I did give it a good run. Anyways, it was a great atmosphere. I thought the crowd was awesome that night. Lots of new faces. From what I could see, it looked like a lot of season ticket holders, if they weren't able to go, gave their seats away to other people. So that's great. And Mark, you must love that too, right? Giving people a chance to get in and see a game is
super
awesome.
happy with it. A little bit concerned what would happen kind of on a cold night. First place was already clinched, so we were super pumped to see kind of what the turnout was. I thought it looked fantastic in the building, and I thought the atmosphere was really, really good. So
yeah, we saw
really
some really cool plays too. Sure, it wasn't our A team, but we saw some guys making some awesome plays on offense and defense, and I had a lot of fun.
It doesn't matter that it's not the A team; it's still the team.
You
get out there and you support the team.
And we've gone on about this enough. It's the logo on the front.
That's right.
It's why you see CFL jerseys without name and numbers on them, unlike any other league.
Except for me.
Except for you.
Rants and
Well, obviously. Let's not get into that. We are drinking.
My GG's quarterback. He's my GG's quarterback. Always.
Like any good company man, Mark brought in some beer for some Budweiser,
There you go.
That's right. I'm sure the sponsors are listening. I doubt it.
We got Bose too. They're a good sponsor of ours, so we run the gamut here.
I wasn't sure if they were a sponsor,
Yeah,
so I didn't want to go there.
absolutely.
Okay, 2 for 2. We got some fresh baked cookies down here and some coffee. I mean, life is good. I don't know what everyone else is doing tonight, but too bad you're not here. So one of the really cool things that OSEG does is I think if you renew your season tickets for the next year quickly, you get your name in a draw to be brought in the field and meet some players and get a jersey or something. Mark, I don't know, you could maybe speak a little more about that.
Did you not get a jersey, Colin?
No, they didn't have any Smedium jerseys. But season ticket holder Mike was able to get on the field, which was awesome. And he got Gaston Nadon's jersey, which is pretty awesome. We've been talking about how versatile and impactful he's been as a rookie this year, which is great.
Well, he was impactful last year when he dropped what should have been a pure interception in the Eastern Final when he was a Tiger Cat.
I always just call him a rookie because I just want
you were thinking of Los Osegue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The other hyphen,
The other
francophone.
hyphen name, yeah.
You win some, you lose some. So this coffee's working apparently. Maybe I should switch to the bud.
I wish Mike were here though to tell us about it.
Yeah, he was thrilled and
his pictures were good. I've never seen Mike smile like that, and it was having had the opportunity to do it in year 1, and I got Pat Lavoie's jersey, and listeners know how much I love the CIS, so it was doubly special for me to get a former CIS player, even though he wasn't a GG, he was Laval.
I'm pretty sure it's been rebranded, Janine. You mean U Sports? U Sports.
Sorry, it'll always be CIS in my mind because I'm of a certain age. But I know Mike was really thrilled, and I wish, maybe we can ask him during our next show to bring this back and have him tell us a little bit about it, because I know it was pretty special.
Seeing him with his favorite player, Jamil Smith,
I know.
that photo is priceless. And Mike, we all have been behind Jamil since day one, and he's an awesome dude. And obviously, we got lots of love for him, and just a great community guy. And so happy to see Mike. And it's weird, next to Jamil, like Mike didn't actually look too small, right?
No,
like,
Mike looked like a giant.
yeah, I'm like, who's playing here, right?
I look like a giant next to Jamil, though.
So I think you guys will agree. Like, one of the cool things about the CFL Ottawa is the accessibility of the players, right? So that's
For sure.
I talked to a couple people leaving the stadium that night with jerseys coming off the field, and they're super pumped, thrilled with kind of being able to meet a guy and how nice they were at the end of the day. I mean, it sucks sometimes when you meet somebody and they don't want to be there. We just lost our last game of the year, and guys were smiling, and they must have stayed out for 15, 20 minutes. So it was awesome.
And I think just going on the field,
So-
not even just with the player aspect, like that's awesome too.
Yeah,
just getting a chance to be on that pro turf where you see, like kids can see their heroes play or whatever. It's a really cool experience.
You notice we do that after every home game, right? And it's really funny because it's worked out awesome for us. The first time we talked about that, like it was a hour debate about what are we going to do, how are we going to let fans on, how are we going to rope off players, this really big complex algorithm of like how we're going to do this. We can only
Typical
do it.
accountant.
Absolutely. We can only do it 1 or 2 times a year. It's going to wear out. People are going to get tired of it, and it's probably one of the coolest things we do, right? Like people love going down, and we can get beat on the last play of the game, which sucks. And kids go home happy. They're down the field. They're running around. Adults love it. So it's one of the. I can't believe it was such a hard decision for us. And I know I see Winnipeg is kind of taking that on now. So I think they're starting. Yeah, they're starting to do that. But we don't have to. The players just hang out, right? They talk to their families. They hang out for pictures. It's worked out really well.
And
So
I used to have season tickets to the Montreal Alouettes in the interim years between between the Renegades and the Redblacks, and it was like full on security. You couldn't get anywhere near that field afterwards unless you had like a benediction from the Pope or something, and it was ridiculous. The one time I made it down onto the field was only after we got like permission from 16 people in the Alouettes organization to go down there, and it was just ridiculous. So when I saw you guys doing this, my first thought was other teams have to fall in line, because this is all about the fans feeling like they're a part of something bigger than just the game that they just saw, and I think it's a great idea.
So do you notice? I mean, there's a lot of folks down on the field that have had their party on too, but they're really respectful of the players, right? They give them their space. They let them finish their conversations. They aren't pushing their way in the front. So it works out really well for us. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that says a lot about, I guess, the demographic of people that are going down there, that nothing's happened. And that's amazing. It just speaks volumes to the whole community that, I don't know, I've only seen one fight in 3 years, and which I think is pretty damn good, man. I mean, anyone who goes to a game down south, I mean, every game, it can get scary.
And
It can get really scary.
some of our concessionaire and stadium consultants that we use are from the States, so they come up and give us a tune-up every once in a while, and they don't completely understand the amount of alcohol consumption that can happen at a CFL football game, and the behavior, how good it is with people that you ask them to do something and they do it and they smile. So it's really cool when I see that, because it's what we're about. It's what the CFL is about. So it's awesome.
Canadians.
By the way, you guys look great today. So let me just say that. You too. Speaking of which, take your shirt off, man. Let's do that. So we're getting the rematch we wanted. We get the rematch about the Esks. So I just want to say we're not going to be talking about game preview because we're actually doing 2 shows this week. We have I don't know if Brody and Max from CFL, but Brody for sure will be here Saturday morning. She's going to do a game preview with us, and that'll be awesome to really get out there, fresh new media on Saturday, and get you prepared for the game on Sunday. So hopefully everyone enjoys that game preview. With that being said, I think it's an awesome opportunity that we get to face the team that broke our heart last year.
Oh, did they ever?
And I don't know what's up with Riley. I mean, he'll be playing, but
He's a warrior.
he may have that Hank pinky,
But it's not his throwing arm, so it's all good. It's all good.
Let's freeze him up. At least we know he won't be like switch pitching or whatever, right? Like that dude for the Blue Jays this year. What's up with that? Can you imagine that? Like,
can't get through one without a baseball reference, eh?
I miss it, man. I miss it. I was already looking at the spring training schedule. I'm like, when you're like 36 years old and you're actively searching hotel rooms in March in Clearwater, Florida, you're a loser. Okay, let's be honest. Like, we're 20 years too early, bud. Yeah.
How do we feel about the fact that we couldn't saw those logs in the Grey Cup last year? Did you guys talk about that at all? You cool with that?
I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but I
Sometimes
thought it
in-
was ridiculous. I mean, the horse, whenever Calgary's in the Grey Cup final, the horse comes down and runs up and down the sidelines. You know what? It's Chris Jones. It's Chris Jones being Chris Jones.
So I'm thinking maybe in the future you pre-cut the logs, seal them with magnets, and just kind of
frisbee
psych.
'em.
Yeah.
Lots of like frisbee. right at Jason Moss. Boom.
Oh my God! I
We'll
would
talk about that during the game preview.
maybe you throw it out. He might knock his mic off. You know how he'll react to that, right? Lastly, I want to thank Saskatchewan for not winning their last game of the year. As it stands right now, cumulatively, we owe you 5 shots times 4, so we owe you basically a bottle of dill pickle vodka. It'll be going downrange. Our Grey Cup celebration show. The week is that bold? It's bold to say. I don't care. Our Grey Cup winning celebration show.
Are we doing it on the Wednesday night? Because that's actually going to be my birthday night.
I know.
You can't make me do 5 shots of dill pickle vodka on my birthday. That's
You don't. You can just have
won't
one.
make you, but we'll peer pressure the hell out of you.
What time were you born, actually?
4 p.m.
So if we have the show early, you'll still be 39, so you can still get your party on, right? So, you got those dirty 30s till 4 p.m., bud. Okay, let's go into a little break, and then we're going to come back and have a little chat with Mark.
Never again will you see rings on your table with the CFL-approved OLG Coaster Yellow Edition. It's easy. Go to your local OLG retailer, place a bet on a parlay with no research, watch your bet lose, and boom!
Coaster!
Bet on the Ticats to beat the Red Blacks? Coaster! Bet on the Argos to win the East? Coaster! Coaster come in a variety of price ranges from $2 to $100.
After Rake and Juice, you'll never be a long-term winner, but you will always win a coaster with OLG.
Okay, we're back with Mark Goudie, Chief Operating Officer of OSEG, and it's great to have you in studio here, man. I know you're a busy guy, and unlike us,
Wait.
I just love getting a reaction out of you. Oh,
Do
man.
you know how many briefing notes I have to go home and finish writing when we're done this?
Cool stories, man. Anyway, so, Mark, let's really quickly, we talked earlier about your kind of background, and you were saying you kind of broke into sports with the Sens a while back. As their chartered, or maybe you can just tell real quickly how you landed this week.
Yeah, grew up playing sports, loved sports in Ottawa. Hockey guy, lacrosse guy, kind of growing up. Went into the world, went to Carleton University, Janin, on the right side of most Panda victories.
Mark,
Actually, we still have most.
Do you?
We still
There you
have
go. I
most
stand
by a
corrected.
long shot. Don't make me go that shit, Mark. I will.
wow, so we got 2 Marks and 2 Carleton grads.
There you
here.
go.
This is just too much synergy for me to take. I'm sorry.
Yeah, was working chartered accountant, and my wife at the time, my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, was worked for the company that was auditing the Senators, and they had just joined the league and needed a controller to join, and I hounded them down and made them hire me. So I worked with Bernie Ash, who's now CEO of OSEG back in the Senators.
And a good alum of the university.
Super proud alum. Yeah, the Ash family. Who turned 60 today, by the way. We just had the mayor came down to say happy birthday to Bernie. He is the best guy in the world. Yeah. So I hounded them down, got them to hire me. I stayed there for about, joined during their first season, stayed there for about 9 years.
Any good stories from those first
Tons
few
of
years?
Yeah, tons of great stories.
Anything you can say on the air?
Yashin, so I liked Yashin, actually. He was a gentleman.
Did you ever go to the NAC with him?
I did not go to the NAC with him. The best story I have, probably, that comes to mind anyways, is do you remember the Sens in the early days? We have fans.
Of course.
Stan Nitzcast. Do you remember that guy?
Absolutely. Couldn't spell his name if you paid me $100.
He got a $400,000 signing bonus in a check, and we kept waiting for it to clear the bank. Funds were tough in those days, and Stan's check just wouldn't cash. And he came in, and they go stale dated after a certain period of time. And about 6 months after he came in, it was all rolled up into a ball. And he asked us if we could, pay him that bonus in cash because he wanted to go and buy a electric guitar. He had some music to kind of play. So bizarre, right? The life of a 19-year-old Czechoslovakian at the time kid carrying around a $400,000 check that didn't. He needed a Les Paul, I guess. I don't know. So.
Yeah. He was actually going to rent Les Paul to come teach him how to play guitar. Oh, snap.
So I stayed there for about 9 years and went to the world of technology. Was there for about 15 years or so, and phoned Bernie to congratulate him when he became CEO of OSEG. I was doing some consulting work. He asked me if I could come in and spend a couple hours. That turned into a couple days. That turned into a couple months. That turned into kind of full time. So, and it was I had no intention of getting back into the world of sports. I'd kind of done that. But it was what we were building at OSEG, and it started kind of with our partners that. It's a business for sure, but there was a philanthropic kind of aspect to it, that they're Ottawa guys born and raised, and they were doing something that they thought was important to the vibrancy in the city of Ottawa at the end of the day. And, I got caught up in that. And when I started, there was 12 employees. We have about 140 now. So you start hiring to the culture you kind of want to see in an organization. And it was about customer service, and I think we had a lot of employees that we hired that were just petrified of not doing something that was special. So they worked really hard, and I think we kind of hit it out of the park in our first year. So it was hard not to kind of say yes to wanting to do that for as long as they'll let me do that.
So we were talking about this earlier, and we've noticed a huge growing process for our nation, a huge growing process for us as fans, for the team, the management. And I'm sure you must see that too, like you said, from 2 to 100 plus now. Your day-to-day must change all the time. And it must be with so many moving parts at OSEG, because you not only have different sports teams, and I assume the whole TD Place development, is that all under the same umbrella? Yeah,
so we're 3 sports teams. We're the stadium, we're the arena, and we're 400,000 square feet of retail space, so we're the whole kind of Lansdowne thing.
So what do you do in your spare time?
Yeah. It's podcast mostly.
That's amazing.
Without my shirt on.
There you go. Hey. Wow, this is amazing. It's amazing.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, you missed one, bud. You really missed one.
How do you feel OSEG has been evolving?
Well, yeah, Colin and I were talking about that a little earlier, and I'd like you to kind of elaborate on it, Colin. It's I think we have a very customer service kind of mindset, and I think it served us really well. But it's hard to keep finding kind of new ways to entertain people and to impress people and to foster our nation, our soccer team, our hockey team as well. So you were mentioning that you were asking kind of if there's been a change in kind of the culture, and there hasn't been. But you're sensing something, so kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I think we've all noticed there have been a little change. I think we were very spoiled early, and I think the level of service we got probably wasn't going to be able to be sustained long term. But when you get spoiled, you kind of expect certain things, and I don't think by any means are they not doing they're doing a great job still.
Yeah.
But year one was epic. Let's be honest, from every perspective. We are all growing, and we're so excited, and there was so much passion and emotion in all the games, and I feel like that really flowed through the media as well that we got. And I think now people are being a little more maybe harsher with the team as well. The honeymoon phase is worn out a bit, which is all part of growing and maturing for sure. But it's been an interesting process to see it happen, not only from the fan base, but the team and the OSEG itself.
Yeah, I'll tell you a really, really quick, boring story. But I got to go on a tour before we opened TD Place. Bunch of stadiums, Fenway, Yankee Stadium, bunch of stadiums, Levi's down in San Francisco.
This is not a boring story.
It was awesome. It was awesome. But
send resumes to
one place. and you travel well. You know the wine list. One place people wanted me to go to is Portland, to go to the Portland Timbers of the MLS, right? And see a Portland Timbers game. And I didn't really want to go. I didn't love soccer at the time. I didn't want to go. But I went. And it was the best experience I had of all of the different venues. I mean, I'm going to the Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, right? Portland Timbers. And it was the feel. There was a community kind of that was happening in Portland, going to the games, and it didn't really matter. And somebody won 2-1. I'm not really sure, but it was a vibrancy and it was a feel, and they did a really good job with the customer service, with the food, with everything. It was a really fun night out, and it kind of became the blueprint for TD Place. They had an old stadium. It was like an 80-year-old baseball stadium that they retrofitted into a soccer stadium with a new side and an old side. So the parallels were kind of really cool with Portland. Like they're the poor cousin from Seattle up the street, kind of Ottawa, Toronto. So I kind of felt like Portland when I came back, and when I kind of what I wanted to do in terms of what we were going to do at Lansdowne. And I think that kind of translated well. I think we thought it would take us 5 years to kind of start building emotional attachment into the football team. And it just happened, right? It happened. And I think it wasn't good planning. I think the best thing we did as an organization is we got out of the way and just let it kind of happen and tried to foster. We talked about going down in the field, shirts off our back, responding to complaints. When we get stuff wrong, which we did a lot in the first year, we'd humbly apologize for it sincerely and fix it and all of that stuff. So I think the trick for us now is how do we sustain that, and how do we there is an emotional attachment. Like, how do we keep that emotional attachment with you guys, with our nation, with our casual fans?
Well, and I think you're struggling as other teams are going to be struggling, as the entire league is struggling with a generation. And I'm just going to say it. I love millennials. There's a lot of people that bash the millennial generation, but I actually think this is a fascinating generation growing up. But what I find the most fascinating about them is it's hard to keep their attention for very long. And OSEG's not the only organization that struggle. I struggle with that in my line of work, keeping them, recruiting them, getting them to come in and work with us. All the teams are struggling and the league is struggling. So I think collectively, the more OSEG type organizations there are out there that are willing to get out of the way and see what is organically happening and just give the space that the fans need to find each other and to be collectively together and to build that community. Frankly, I think that's the best thing. And I think, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing sunshine up your ass, but I think that's what is the strength with OSEG.
Send CV to.
That is absolutely the strength with OSEG, and I've noticed it from day one. And just keep on doing that. Give us a place to gather, and like you said, get out of the way and see what happens.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great experience for everybody, and
well, I mean, what's cool to me is like this, right? Like you guys didn't know each other outside of Red Blacks football. I didn't know you guys, right? Ginny, we met for a drink at the Great Club in Winnipeg. Like it's cool to me how there's kind of these relationships and kind of emotional attachments that kind of I run into all over the place. It's awesome.
It's and then that's our nation. I think for the most part it is a bunch of strangers that all kind of know each other, and that's really different from most other fan bases, I think, and those strangers wouldn't have that opportunity to kind of get to know each other or interact like that. And those initial events, the jersey reveal, I think those kind of things were huge.
That was awesome.
That created your core.
Right.
The stuff that happened before you even played a game. In my mind, that's where the Clint Fords of the world met whoever, or the Lordells met whoever. And I mean, these are people who are your fan base for the next 40 years or whatever. And I mean, those are, once you got those people, man, that's huge. Okay, we're trailing off here. I want to talk about Grey Cup real quick.
Grey Cup.
Okay, so obviously we're hosting next year.
Yes, sir.
This is a huge showcase, not only for the city. the team. But for you guys, logistically, I'm sure the task list is ridiculous. Maybe you can just explain a little bit about the Grey Cup and that process and what kind of work you have to do the next little while.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I think we were talking before. I hadn't been to a Grey Cup really experienced a Grey Cup. I'd been to the 2 in Ottawa in kind of recent history, but I went to the game, went home, right?
Yeah.
So the first one I went to was in Vancouver. The second one was in Winnipeg, and it's different. It's weird. It's Canadian. It's weird, right? I loved it. It was so a buddy of mine's 50th birthday is this year, and his thing is he's gonna come down to Toronto and experience his first Grey Cup because I talked about it so much kind of over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So I mean, what we want to do is kind of embrace what we got going on, which is this cool vibe where people like getting together. So I think we have a really good opportunity because it'll be centered around Lansdowne. One of the things I didn't get Vancouver, Winnipeg is, you got a lot of things going on around the city, but you can't kind of hop back and forth to the different things. It's a concerted effort. Tonight I'm going to go to wherever and other teams party. So we have the opportunity, with all of the facilities that we have and the infrastructure we have at Lansdowne to keep as much as we can of it together, which, I think we're going to create a giant party for that week. Try and be as eclectic as we can to cater to as many different interests and kind of fun zones.
And all the friends of the glebe can go away for a week.
We'll be quiet. There's kind of an invisible dome of silence that descends over Grey Cup.
Being quiet, Grey Cup. Believe me, I've been to a few.
So what we see, and we've got a Grey Cup committee that we've started. You saw Jim Durrell kind of as the executive director, which is a big coup for us.
Big name guy, sports guy, and political guy. So
we'll have a team of folks that are dedicated to, and we've already started building that team out, dedicated to Grey Cup, both in terms of community folks and folks within our organization. And I think we want to make a big inclusive party that happens all week long. So I think it'll be centered around Lansdowne. You'll see us activating the different bars that are there, and Aberdeen horticulture concert series kind of happening in the arena at TD Place.
Awesome.
There'll be some stuff for sure that happens downtown in terms of some of the teams will choose to go down there, but we're trying to give them the option to stay at Lansdowne if they want, so that we can kind of, and I think that's the fun part about that I had a Grey Cup was just meeting all the different people, right? And hearing stories of people that have been to 35 in a row Grey Cups. It's awesome. So I think if you keep them all together, it's a lot more fun than if you kind of set them apart.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great time, and I know.
I live half an hour by foot from Lansdowne, so I'm all in.
We're also big thing. We're going to drive everybody home every night. So yeah,
I'm just right across the bank.
Perfect. You'll be the first one we drop off.
Right on.
There's a sea of yellow school buses cruising around downtown. Well, I know that the league's excited. Fans across the league are excited. No offense to what they got going on in Toronto in a few weeks, but I know people have the rooms booked here already for next year, and people are making plans, and I mean, it's going to be quite an experience. And I know me and my family, we've already committed to going, and Dad's excited. He's never been to one before, and for a lot of people, it's a really big moment, so...
we know we're doing something, right? Because when we have teams here, CFL teams playing, when we're playing against other teams, they're bringing more people, and they want to see kind of what's happening. They've heard about what's happening. Our Nation, TD Place, Red Blacks.
Selfie with Trudeau. I mean, what the hell?
There you go. Right? Right?
Speaking of taking your shirt off.
There you go.
Prime Minister Harper used to be at many games. I don't think I've seen Prime Minister Trudeau yet at a game. Has he been?
You know what? I don't remember if he was there. I don't know that he did. I want to say that he was there for a game with his wife last year, but I drawing a blank.
That classic Harper moment where dude walked past him to shake Russ Jackson's hand, though, is just amazing. That's like one of the best highlights of all time. I love that.
So, props to Stephen Harper, though, right? That guy, he would take as many selfies as people would kind of come and see him. He talked to anybody that was there. I thought it was pretty cool. He
was actually he just gotten off a plane from Russia.
Yeah.
And he came to the GG's home opener at their new field.
Yeah.
So this was 3 years ago when the GGs opened their new field, and he came to that off a plane flying back from Russia, and I just thought that's pretty incredible. Like the Prime Minister coming to a university football game in Canada, not in the U.S.
Well, and not sit in a suite, not sit in the club seats, right? He'd sit out there right in the middle of.
Far away from
I saw him.
Yeah.
I saw him kicking into the net at halftime. Actually, I think he saw an opportunity.
He'd talk football with Henry Burris for hours.
Yeah.
Calgary guy. Yeah, awesome.
Props to you, SH.
Said no one ever. All right, so let's not turn this into a political show. We've had enough of that BS for how many months now?
What do you guys want to see at Grey Cup?
Other than a Red Blacks win and an awesome parade and
Yeah.
me being sideways
Yeah.
at Kettleman's.
Sideways?
I just love meeting the people, and I'm excited to see the barn with the temporary stands.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the coolest features to me of TD Place is the berm
Yeah.
or the hill, and the fact that you can watch the game from there. I mean, I'm sure from a business perspective you're indifferent, but I love that.
No,
feature.
we're not indifferent.
I think
Actually,
that
we're
feature is one of the. I've been to stadiums all over the world, and that is the coolest feature in a public park to watch your pro team. I just can't think of anything cooler, to be honest. Like,
well,
that's such an awesome feature. I think.
so
it's
I'm an
great.
Ottawa guy, so I remember, and I used to live on Homewood once upon a time, and I remember watching parts of games, because you can only see like 3/4 of the field from the Bank Street Bridge.
Absolutely.
Right, and that was neat, right? Seeing people, like, it's like a bar where you got a lineup. If there's a big lineup, what's inside? That must be cool. So early on, we knew that the berm was sticking over the fence and people could watch there, and we kind of made a decision. Great, right? If people want to go and park there on a blanket or get a lawn chair and watch, that's kind of our recreation of the Bank Street Bridge. So it works, and go for it.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, let's talk. Let's take a little break, and then we'll come back, talk about a few football games we had.
Two fantastic football
Awesome football games. So ratings were up.
Broken.
That's
We'll
okay.
Talk about that. We'll talk about that.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome to the Red Black Renegade Rant with Santino Filoso.
This past weekend featured some incredible CIS playoff football. U-Sports football. What a stupid rebrand, by the way, though that's a rant for another day. The point is, anyways, that everything that makes our Canadian game so great was on full display this past weekend at the university level. In Montreal, you had Laval edging the Carabins 20-17 in a slugfest that came to a ballsy third down call from Montreal's 3-yard line. With 27 seconds left in the game and trailing 17-13, Laval called a direct snap to their running back, who in turn flipped the ball to a reversing wide receiver, who then tossed it to their quarterback for the win, thus securing the Dunsmore Cup. Out in Calgary, the Dinos hung on to knock off the UBC Thunderbirds, the defending Vanier Cup champs by the way, by a score of 46-43. On their final possession of the game, UBC was driving, but a third down sack by the Dinos with 35 seconds left sealed the win. In London, the Laurier Golden Hawks rallied back to beat the Western Mustangs 43-40 after trailing 40-19 in the fourth quarter. It was a hell of a comeback that featured an improbable 21-yard catch on 3rd and 18, a fumble, and some phenomenal quarterback play. Meanwhile, the AUS championship was never close, a 29-8 win for St. FX over Mount Allison, though watching Mount Allison's quarterback return to play with a hospital bracelet still on his wrist after being knocked out of the game earlier on was the stuff of legend. The sad thing is, in all likelihood, this is the first you've heard about any of those games. The things I'm describing went unwitnessed by most because in 2017, Sportsnet, which owns the right to CIS, U-Sports playoff football, still doesn't feature every game nationally. While Sportsnet deserves some credit for broadcasting the Yates Cup, given that they have 5 channels, is there really anything else worth showing over Canadian university playoff football on a Saturday afternoon in November? Why wasn't every game available all across Canada? As for TSN, since they don't own the CIS broadcast rights, they couldn't air the games even if they wanted to, but that's no excuse for them, A, failing to update their website to reflect that the CIS has changed its name to U Sports, and B, not having a single highlight clip from any of this past weekend's games on their site, not to mention a single game recap. Given that TSN is the CFL's biggest partner and supporter, you'd think they'd do everything in their power to promote the stars at a university level who will soon be wowing fans in the CFL. The reality is, given the growth of the game at the university level and the incredible quality of play, Canadians deserve the opportunity to watch and follow along as these students graduate to the pro level. So get your shit together, Sportsnet, and you too, TSN. That's all for this week, guys. Make sure to rant back at Red Black Gade, and remember to bleed red black.
Welcome to Around the CFL on the BleedRedblacks Podcast.
Okay, let's start.
You're not going to make fun of me if I put my glasses on here.
Oh, that's the best intro to a segment ever.
Away from 40. I'm wearing my glasses.
Do those buy or trifocals in there?
These are just
Jesus,
me.
you could light an ant on fire with those things, Janine.
My ego is taking a hit here, guys.
No, I'm teasing. So let's start the Eastern final, air quotes Eastern. Edmonton and Hamilton in Hamilton, and it was a crazy game. To start off, I mean, we've talked about it many times, but when they rebuilt that stadium in Hamilton, they changed the configuration. And the wind that comes whipping through there is crazy.
Those flags were just like...
Yeah, they were like stiff.
It was crazy.
And, I mean, if only they had that kind of breeze in BC place, I mean, maybe, Medlock would have had a chance. Anyways,
We'll talk about that. We're not at the West yet.
So in a match that many predicted to be the battle of the quarterbacks, in a crazy turn for the CFL, it actually turned out to be like running back central. Eskimos John White took over the game right off the bat. He set the tone early, and it looked like he was going to run for 300 yards. Like, he was awesome.
He was 2 touchdowns.
And yeah, and he ran for 160, and he had 620 his last 5 games. So, dude was definitely peaking. And as you said, Janine, we've talked about the Wolf Man before.
We have. The dude's got a big giant wolf tattoo on his arm, so he's pretty hardcore. But yeah, this guy almost lost his starting role to Shakir Bell, and then luckily for him, Shakir Bell got injured and he got a shot again. And luckily for the Esks, because he's just been on fire in that game. The Esks owe him a lot in that game because they're big guys, Adarius Bowman, Darrell Walker. Between the two of them, only 84 yards, and those are the top 2 receivers in the league.
And the craziest thing about this game was the S actually averaged more yards per rush than per pass. It was 6.9 yards per rush and 6 yards per pass. And I don't know if that's ever happened in the CFL before. I mean, we're pro running game down here, and I've made up my fake correlation between 15 touches.
Fake, actually.
Okay, well, I gave it a fancy name, Fossey Corsi, so it sounds, the chartered accountant's probably rolling his eyes over there. But so one thing that really stood out to me was, Hamilton, you'd think they would kind of come back with the same kind of running game with their 3-star receivers out. And, CJ Gable kind of sucked. And
well, I don't know if it's that he sucked, it's that they only gave him 9 touches.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't use Gable, because he's a very good running back. Kent Austin does not like the ground game. He never has. But he had the perfect opportunity to use the ground game because he's got a very capable back. And he has Tasker, Fantuz, and who was the other guy that was out? He had a third receiver that was out. I'm sorry, Hamilton, I don't know all your receivers, but his star receivers were all out.
The flying Hawaiian was out.
Chad, how can I forget Chad Owens?
Yeah, come on, man.
My mom was watching the game with me. She's so cute. She's like, "Oh, I love Chad Owens. How come he's not playing?" I'm like, Mom, you're the only person in the world who likes Chad Owens. But anyway, and they didn't use the running game. I just don't get it.
So the game was pretty much all Edmonton early. Hamilton made a late push, and in a total CFL, only in the CFL, they recover an onside punt, get a touchdown,
Awesome.
get the 2-point conversion, and then the kickoff goes in the end zone for a Rouge. So
21-21.
basically, in the CFL, a 9-point difference is still a one-score game.
Yeah.
Like, so bizarre, right?
That was really awesome.
And that's what makes the CFL so special. I'm sure our the fans of the South watching that were just like, what the hell is going on here, you know? So that was a really interesting play, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, Zach Caleros just didn't have the targets he needed and wound up throwing just a brutal pick at the end of the game, and Edmonton hung on. So
and because of that brutal pick, we all had to watch Mike Benavides do that weird dance along the side. Did anybody see that? Am I the only one that saw it?
I saw it. It looked like a seizure combined with like a Zumba class.
Combined with one of those like 90s dance moves where you imitate an appliance. It was freaky.
Apparently he did 6 consecutive fist pumps. Like, that's pretty aggressive there, man. But
It was pretty wild. But to me, Mike Benavides' dance aside, to me the story of the game was just the post-game fan reaction, and I totally get how high your emotions are in a situation where your team, particularly when your team hasn't really performed all that great all year, but they still have a shot. I get how high your emotions are. But after that non-roughing the passer call, Kent Austin challenged what he thought was roughing the passer. I thought it was roughing the passer.
Yeah, me too.
Not because the passer was hit on the head or down low, but because the hit came late. It came, a couple steamboats after the ball was out of Caleros' hand. Austin lost the challenge. And fans, and then Caleros threw the interception, and fans went nuts on Twitter. And I gotta say, Hamilton, you are one of the biggest, strongest, most dedicated fan bases. You're better than this. I get how shitty it is to not have a call go your way, but to say that you're not gonna renew your season tickets and you're not gonna support your team or this league anymore, I think that's more Bush League than calling out the ref for being a human being and missing a call. I really, truly do. And be better and get back out there for your team next year, because they had a lot to deal with this year. They had to deal with Caleros going down twice. They had to deal with a lot of injuries to all their stars.
Their secondaries all banged up,
decimated, and the fact that their secondary did what they did in the second half of this game is incredible. Please guys, be better. And I know a lot of you are. I know a lot of you are still supporting the team, but sleep on it, get over the hurt, and then come back next season and support your guys.
Yeah. But they will, Janine. That's a great fan base, right? They're hurting in that. I didn't think it was late call or late hit. I thought it was a good football hit.
I thought it was a clean hit.
Yeah.
I just thought it was late.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit late.
So who were you guys pulling for? Who did you think we were going to sack up better against? Ticats or Edmonton?
I think we could beat Hamilton easier than we can Edmonton.
For me, it was a psychological edge.
Yeah.
We beat Hamilton in a playoff situation. We've not beaten Edmonton in a playoff situation. They beat us in the Grey Cup game, right? So for me,
exercising of demons, though, Janine.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. You could also look at it that maybe Edmonton is the better team for us to play against, because Riley might be a little distracted. His wife's having a baby this week. He's hurt. The team.
Hope he doesn't wear that stupid hat to Ottawa, though. That was just like a level at like the Oski Wee Wee guy, right? Like that bowler hat he wore. I'm pretty sure that's all he was doing.
I don't know. I don't know. I like Mike Riley. I don't have anything.
No, I think it's great. I was just talking just straight up fashion.
I didn't see his hat.
Yeah, it's like total like Boardwalk Empire, Nookie Thompson styles, but whatever.
Hey, I watched the first episode of Boardwalk Empire last night.
There you go. Weird.
Hey.
Yeah, weird, eh? So weird. So in sync. I'm gonna send him this guy my CV before he goes to Portland again.
I think I'm gonna lose my seat here. But no, Mark, I think you're right that a lot of them will come back. But I just, there's a lot of things I want to say that I stop myself from saying, and.
So social media for me has just been decimated by what's happened south of the border the last 3 to 6 months, and I'm so happy that verbiage, even though it's not slowing down, maybe shifting a bit, but I just would want some happy stuff, some more positive stuff. That's what sports are about. It is just for fun at the end of the day. It's entertainment.
It's a job for these guys on the field, and I get.
I mean, from a fan's perspective, if I go to a movie and don't like it, I don't tweet, "Hey, Tom Cruise, your acting sucks. I'm never going back to another movie again, ever."
Well, I might. No, I'm maybe not the right example, Tom Cruise, really.
It shows how out of touch I am. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, who's a star? Who's a star? Who's a star? And I'm like, who's that crazy guy that jumped on Oprah's couch? Like, that's how far out of the loop I am. So, anyways, depth is huge, and Edmonton proved it, basically.
Yeah. And I would have rather meet Hamilton. But we got what we got.
I think I'd rather meet Hamilton. Aside from that, I think we can beat them. Is like that fan base resents the success that Ottawa's had so much, and it's so obvious that I think that would be an extra little like just I don't know, just rub it in a bit more. Like for me, I feel that a lot more than with the Edmonton fan base. Those guys are awesome.
So if I tell you we get along really well with the Hamilton organization, is that going to be disappointing to you?
I think that's great.
No, I think that's
All right.
awesome.
All right.
Just heads up for fallen speakers and don't drink the water.
And you don't need electricity when you go to the stadium.
Solar.
Let's move to BC. I don't want to talk about this too much.
So, what an amazing come from behind victory. Sorry, Janan, I know your Blue Bombers blew it. Huh? Mark, remember what we talked about before the show, Mark? And I was like, the key to being a good guest is to laugh again. Anyways, too bad there were only 19,000 people there to watch. Let's not talk about the Vancouver attendance woes. Anyways, for whatever reason, there were only 19,000 people there, but apparently the crowd was awesome, loud,
okay that we're
and
really
in.
loud.
So, you know what? I'd prefer 19 passionate over
Yeah, me too.
a barn full of posers anyway.
Brian from our friends at BC Lions Den saw you on TV. Saw you and Susie on TV.
Awesome.
Getting the crowd going.
Speaking of a hardcore Grey Cup guy, there's a guy
Yeah.
that's just an awesome,
Brian, you and I'll have a beer together.
awesome football guy for sure. So there's a few major stories. The collapse of the Bombers was huge for me, but the big story was how Jonathan Jennings overcame a brutal start, multiple turnovers early, for a young quarterback who, at the time, looks like he's totally lost his composure, isn't in the game at all, to kind of bounce back and lead his team back to victory, has to have BC Lions fans stoked. And after the game, Wally Bono went to bat for this young quarterback, and he actually lost it on one of the reporters. And I've never seen Wally do that. And I love that. I love when the coach puts his foot down. We're lucky we have Hank. He can stick up for himself. Hank doesn't need a shield. But, you know, a young man like Jonathan shouldn't be forced to deal with, you know, those kind of questions. People still questioning his ability at this point is just ridiculous.
Well,
and good on Wally for standing up for him. That's great.
Wally is not the kind of GM or coach that would decide to bench a Travis Lulay if a Jonathan Jennings was not the future of this franchise. Like
Right.
You don't bench Travis Lulay without thinking, I'm putting down one of the better quarterbacks in this league. And yeah, he's had his injury problems, but that guy is an incredible quarterback. So, and who questions Wally Bono anyway? He's the godfather. Like, don't question Wally Bono. Nobody knows football like Wally knows football.
The question, I may never see you again.
Pardon?
We may never see you again if you question
Yeah,
him.
that's right.
It's too late, Janine.
Wally, I love you. I was cheering for the Bombers, but just this once. Can I talk about the Bombers though? Can I talk a little bit about their season?
I would love that.
Yes, I made the conscious decision to be an Ottawa Redblacks fan moving forward because Ottawa is my home. It's where I now live. It's where it's where I've made my life and my family. But I still love my Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I'm proud of how they turned their season around. I'm proud of how they turned their last 3 seasons around, actually. And they had the season they had for 2 reasons. The first one is Mike O'Shea. He had faith in his system and he had faith in his players, minus Drew Willie, who he finally realized I have to bench for the good of my team. And it's because his players and him never lost faith in that system that they were able to turn things around. And I think that is an represented key to their success, is Mike O'Shea never deviated from what he believed was going to get them more wins than losses, and it worked for them in the end. And the second reason they got to where they were is that ball hawking defense. Like, that is an incredible secondary. Mm-hmm. And what they have managed to do and the turnovers they have forced this season, it has been incredible to watch. And it is fun to watch against. I love Jonathan Jennings, but he is a young, aggressive quarterback, and you can force a guy like that to make a few mistakes. And that's been fun to watch. But what it all comes down to for me, and why Winnipeg lost this game, aside from the 61-yard field goal attempt that we'll get to in a minute, when you're a ball-hawking defense like that, and you're constantly looking for the turnover, you're constantly looking to force the mistake, you let other openings happen on the field of play. And so when Wally Buono made his halftime, he realized at halftime, look, they're coming after you, Jonathan. They're being aggressive. They're trying to force these turnovers and these mistakes. And they're forgetting about Chris Rainey. And they're forgetting about Jeremiah Johnson. And oh my God, do I miss Jeremiah Johnson.
I know, right?
I miss Jeremiah Johnson after the game.
I believe I saw a tweet in the middle of the game, something like that.
There might have been 7. One was in all caps. Why did we let go of Jeremiah Johnson? I copped that. And they just, that's when the defense
Filling our social media feeds with that negativity, and then why don't you just move to Hamilton? I'm teasing.
And that's when the defense started to slip, and then they were playing from behind for the rest of the game.
And okay, let's talk about kicker gate here, okay? So before the game, Medlock was quoting as saying, "My range is 57 yards." Okay,
which none of us knew until after the game, for the record.
I didn't write the notes before the game started either, Janan. So for those of you who didn't watch it, there was, I think, 38 seconds left, and it was 3rd and 4. And Coach O'Shea decided to go for the 61-yard field goal as opposed to getting a first down and then going for a shorter. It's still not going to be a chip shot, but something a little more in Medlock's range.
He would have had time for one more play. He would have had time for a couple more plays with 38.
And then the other argument is, could Medlock have punted it in and gone for the tie? So out of all these options, I feel like there's not a positive resultant out of the going for the 61-yard kick one. The other ones, you have all these other options for a positive resultant, and with the 61-yard kick, it's such a polarizing thing. It's either going to work or it's not. You're not leaving yourself any other opportunity, and I'm no coach. I just think in that case, you got to push the limit. If you don't get that first down, c'est la vie, you lost the game.
So at the time, what were you guys yelling at the TV set? Kick it or go for it?
Well, I was deep in a DraftKings game, so I actually wanted to go to overtime so that I could keep my players playing, but now I'm teasing.
My father was visiting, and he was also screaming with me, go for it,
yeah.
Go for it. But
I assumed after the crazy day of CFL football that he was going to kick a 60-yard field goal, and that was going to be
if anyone can do it, it's Money Medlock. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. In a dome, you do a 61-yard, you kick a 61-yard field goal,
Hamilton.
you got wind at your back.
Right.
So, but that said, I've thought a lot about this. I've dissected it a lot of ways, and once I calmed down and I got the emotions out of my system, it occurred to me, Mike O'Shea is a special teams genius. He played most of his career on special teams. He started his coaching career in Toronto as special teams coach. It is not, in the light of day and once all the emotion is gone, it's not surprising to me that he put his faith in his special teams to try to win him that game. Just because of his pedigree. It doesn't make it the right decision, but I now understand a little more why he chose to put his faith in special teams. It's in his blood. That said, we have seen repeatedly since he became head coach of Winnipeg that his faith in his special teams players is also sometimes his downfall. He waited too long before he benched Haverlahu when Haverlahu was still his kicker. There were times when he gave Haverlahu, he put so much faith that Haverlahu would be able to do these crazy trick plays that he dreamed up when Haverlahu just didn't have the nerves to pull something like that off. And as strong as he is on special teams, they're also his biggest weakness. I truly believe that. He puts too much faith in his special teams, and that's why Winnipeg is not meeting Calgary next week.
His gut feel, you saw it, right, was to go for it, and then he got too much time, and that happens to you sometimes, right? You get too much time, you outthink things.
And I mean, I just feel bad for his quarterback who played just an amazing game. And if
Matt Nichols, I gotta say, Matt Nichols, I am offering you this public apology right now. About a little over a year ago, when you signed with Winnipeg, I read an article in the Winnipeg Free Press about you saying that you really believed that you could lead this team. And I don't remember the exact tweet, but it was probably something to the effect of, "Oh, isn't that cute that Matt Nichols thinks he can be a starting quarterback in this league?" And Matt Nichols, I want to tell you right now, I am sorry. I am so sorry.
That explains it. I reached out to him asking if he'd Skype in on the show, and his agent told me to go fuck myself. So.
Can we agree that that was 6 hours of fantastic football? Not wonderful CFL football. 6 hours of great football.
Hey man, it went up against prime time league to the south. I love that league myself.
Yeah.
And we all know which games we were watching. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that says that all the numbers were great. I think they were up like 17.5% over the semis last year. And that's great. I mean, this is a TV-driven league. So those numbers are imperative to us having this conversation for many years to come. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do another segment, but I think we're just going to kind of shut her down here. Sorry, Janine, you have to save your shove it for next show.
All those people that don't like Mike O'Shea's beard.
Oh, you're so... Oh, Mike. Mike O'Shea tattoo, so not for too late. Special teams for life, Mike O'Shea.
No rants Monopoly tattoo. You guys have all tried to convince me. I do have to say one thing though before we shut it down. The real reason I'm so sad, is because November 28th. I'm going to tell you a story here. November 28th, 1976, Ottawa won the Grey Cup for the last time. I was born 2 days later.
9 months later. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know where this was going.
2 days later, in Winnipeg, in a prairie town outside of Winnipeg. So for my 40th birthday, I wanted so badly, and there was like this little sliver of hope that my hometown team and my now team were gonna potentially meet in the Grey Cup for my 40th birthday. And it's not gonna happen.
But the thing is,
anymore.
watching...
And Brian, your BC Lions ruined
Watching
my
that game
birthday.
might have aged you 10 years, though, man, right?
But it's like a dream. A little dream is gone now. It's all gone.
Well, you know what? If we have the parade and you're on that Bleed Red Blacks float, you won't care. So I don't know. I'm not a...
I got a wheelbarrow in the back here.
So at the start of that, I was going to tell Janine to shove it and get over it, but after that story, I can't do that. I know. I agree with you. I want to hug you right now.
Shirts on before you hug, guys.
The game is deep, you guys. Deep. It's not just about that beard. There's actually something else behind it. Okay.
Wow, I think might as well lay down on the couch here. We can get right into this. Oh man, too
Now
much.
you can shut her down.
There you go. So this weekend we have a game preview, which we haven't done in like a season and a half or something, I think. So special show just for our nation fans. We're going to come in on a weekend. 11 a.m. we'll be here. Mark, set your alarm for 7 so you're ready when we get here.
Mark, we expect the cinnamon buns that Santino's mom would have made us if we were doing...
You know what? Santino's dad's so awesome. I bet you if you're like, yo, we got a podcast, can you bring some cinnamon buns? You'd be like, oh, sure. Yeah. Anyway, so we have Brody in here from CFL, and we'll do a game preview. It should be fun. Mike will be here. It'll be our last show that we do before our big, hopefully, Grey Cup preview party bender, and then the finale will just be Dill Pickle Vodka Central. So, if I don't know what you're doing for that, you ever felt like drinking Dill Pickle Vodka?
I'll probably be here, sure.
Yeah.
I'll let myself in.
If I'm not here, don't wait for me. Thanks for coming in, man. It was great to see you again.
Last show of the year, bottom of the barrel. This was awesome. I'm happy to come back.
I was thinking.
I like that better.
That's right. Yeah, you're doing awesome things over there, and accessibility to the team's important, and having you come down here shows how much you care about little fan projects like this too.
Thank you for your passion. It's humbling, man.
And we're doing it just for our fans. That's the only reason we come down here. It's not for glory or for the paychecks, that's for sure. Actually, I owe you guys like at least 10 boxes of Oreo cookies. That's what I give them for this, Oreo
right
cookies. So I'm not sure if you like double stuff, but
get my double stuffed Oreo this time, so...
all right. Well, I guess I can. My Oreos can shove it. Apparently. Anyways, thanks again, Mark, for coming.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you again, and hopefully we'll have
all of you on Sunday.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
So yeah, sorry, I've got it's Sunday's in the bag. Just so you know, I've got my lucky plaid shirt, and I'm 4-0, and I can't wear it every game, right? Because I got to break.
You don't
want
to wear the luck out.
You have to wear the suit every
So
have you washed it?
They're going to be on their own for Grey Cup, but it's going to come out Sunday for sure.
Wow, I can't wait to see that. I want a picture.
Now
all right.
You've said that. No. You have to also wear it on Grey Cups.
Can't do it?
Can you wear it over your sports jacket? You'll look like a lineman, man. That'll be amazing. How about let's just make some compromise. You can wear it that day,
Right on.
But if we win, I want you to Hulkamania it off, right up there in the OSEG booth. Great views from that OSEG booth, just so you know.
There you go. Awesome.
If you ever get bored or lonely up there. Anyways, thanks again. We'll see you guys all Saturday. So awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you for stopping by on this week's episode of the Bleed Red Blacks podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BleedRedblacks or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bleed Red Blacks podcast.